Hello everyone, today in this video we will fight against the atmos character of our world around us, and this time we will try to confront with reality one idea that it's common among some people who observe the reality in many districts of Western European cities like in Sweden or in France, where the immigrants that only use and abuse social welfare do not want to assimilate and create their own ghettos, their own states within the states, and these countries like Sweden have already many of such non-go zones because they pamper their own citizens and also newcomers by social welfare. So in case of their own citizens, more and more of them are becoming lazy, but the newcomers, of course, they are becoming lazy, but also they want to rule in their own way, they want rule themselves in their own way, they want to live their own life, so they also build the walls from the native Swedish populations because they don't share their pseudo values, leftist values, actually no values, so they want to preserve their own values. They even recently established immigrant party in Sweden, so soon maybe they will join the coalition with someone. So leftist politicians are quite shocked because they were assuming that these people would be their electorate forever. Not always. They gain citizenship, now they establish their own party. We will see what will happen. And many native Europeans from these countries do not like this what's happening, and they think that taking immigrants to Europe in such masses is a part of so-called Kalergi plan. Who was Richard von Coudenhove Kalergi? This was a guy born in Tokyo, son of, in 1894, son of Austro-Hungarian diplomat and spy, and economic spy most likely, and Japanese woman, the daughter of oil merchant, antiquity merchant, and landowner, some from, let's say, very well established, some people would say, Japanese bourgeoisie of the late of 19th century. And Mr. Richard Coudenhove Kalergi later was half orphaned because his father died quite quickly, and after First War broke up because Japan didn't join Central Powers in the First World War, they came back to Austro-Hungary, that later collapsed, so he was Czechoslovak citizen. Later he became a French citizen, and Mr. Kalergi, thanks to the fortune of his family, he started margin political career. He even wrote in 1923 the book Pan Europa, about future plan of Europe, that everything will be united, all nations and cultures will be mixed, and at the end of the day all nations and cultures of the world will be mixed, and we will have Eurasian Negroids as new people ruled by old aristocracy like himself, from Austrian aristocracy connected with Habsburg. Despite being monarchist, I despise von Habsburg family for the way how they ruled. I only like few of their representatives like Charles V and later poor Ferdinand killed in Sarajevo, but the rest of family I purely despise. And Mr. von Kalergi was thinking that over such population that it's racially mixed, lost all national identities, the former elite of aristocrats will rule, and of course Jews. He was fascinated by Jewish people. Really, it was insane fascination, because his first wife, who left him, she actually left him alone. Maybe his masculinity was not enough, or maybe he had a difficult character. His first wife, who left him, was Austrian actress who was originated from Austrian Jewish family. So we see here that this guy had a lot of inferiority feelings because of his mixed Austro-Hungarian, because this family was also typical representative of Austro-Hungarian aristocracy. So there was a Austrian breed, there was a Greek breed, Hungarian, Italian, whatever. So he's, let's assume, Austro-Hungarian breed and Japanese origin. So this was his first inferiority feeling because he was mixed. and of course he never, I think, fully recovered after his divorce with this Austrian Jewish woman, so he created in his head picture of really perfect Jewishness, and he saw Jewish as perfect people. It's never healthy when someone has such problem and complexes, and he was writing his insane books. Of course, this pan-European movement still exists. After Mr. Kalergi died in 1974, if I remember correctly, the position of the president of Pan-European Union, meaningless political organization, but important enough that its leaders are the representatives from Germany and from Austria in the European Parliament, also useless and costly institution. And the successor on this position of the president of Pan-European Union, after Mr. Coudenhove-Kalergi, was Mr. Otto von Habsburg, heir to the Austrian imperial throne. What can I say? Ridiculous and embarrassing old man who was always claiming his great heritage that actually was scattered into pieces after First World War, and the only thing he was famous for, he organized in 1989 at the border of Austria and Hungary, when the communist states were having really huge difficulties, ended up in the transformation that was controlled by communistic secret services of the Soviet Union and satellite states. They actually transformed their economy from communistic to more capitalistic and more economical one. But the only thing Mr. Otto von Habsburg was famous for was organizing at the border of Hungary and Austria in 1999 this pan-European picnic. Really embarrassing political achievement, but appropriate to such embarrassing politician like Mr. Otto von Habsburg. I don't know how it was possible that he in Bavaria got so many voters, enough to get to European Parliament for several terms, but okay, we know democracy works as it works. So we see that many people take into account some ideas of some politicians, do not understand them, and do not see that these ideas are not possible to be introduced. And we don't have any Kalergi plan, we simply have influx of immigrants to Western European countries, mainly from all over the world, because in 1960s, especially at the end of 1960s, governments to rule the masses in an easier way and minimize the possibility of any clashes and rebellions, introduce welfare state. And after the welfare state introduction, we see that people, as I said, are becoming lazy. So cheap labor force had to be taken from outside, because local population didn't want to do low-paid jobs, because the salary offered for low-paid jobs were comparable or even smaller than benefits one could get from the welfare state and other subsidies. That's why people doing simple jobs didn't want to work anymore. So everyone from the local populations, from Western populations who wanted to work in the office, but physical jobs, manual jobs, were offered to newcomers. And newcomers were coming slowly, they were becoming more and more numerous. And if someone appears in some countries, of course politicians will always use it to their purposes. And later we had hippie revolution and other leftist scam, development of neo-Marxist ideologies like these critical theories of everything. Now we have critical race theory and other stuff, from the philosophers coming from the Weimar Republic, who went to States and to other Anglo-Saxon countries after Nazis came to power, and with hippie revolution these pseudo ideas came back to Europe, and slowly everything was used for the political purposes of current governments. And now we have what we have, that slowly we are not massively mixing our ethnicities with newcomers, but we are living one next to another, isolating mainly ourselves, isolating each other from ourselves, because our lifestyles are too much different, so we cannot find common ground. So the imaginary race of Euro-Asian Negroids that Mr. Kalergi and some people who think that Kalergi plan is being realized by current European elites, somehow it doesn't come it doesn't become reality. But we see that there is some, one should say, in some territories, replacement of the populations, because in some districts where some population dominates, simply the ones who are dominated emigrate to other places where they are in majority and can live their own life. This is typical process when we have a huge influx in relatively short time of populations that do not share the way of life of the original population of the territory. But there is no massive racial mixing and creating of Euro-Asian Negroids as Mr. Kalergi was thinking, and people who are thinking that his allegedly formed plan is being realized. Not really, and one should always be careful repeating such stuff, and I always recommend you to study deeply and more profoundly the origins of some ideas, and also see how their implementation really works or doesn't work, like in the case of Pan-European Union. Of course, the idea was that such united Europe, without any nationalism, without any divisions, will be strong enough to oppose communism and so on. And we see how mentally weak thinker like Mr. Coudenhove von Kalergi, actually officially anti-communism, went into another dystopias, communist-like dystopias. If you hate the dragon and you really want to fight the dragon, but you don't think, but you really only want to fight the dragon, soon you will resemble another dragon, you will get nails, you will get wings, and you will blow with fire. This happened to descendants of degraded Austro-Hungarian elite, Mr. Coudenhove von Kalergi, and his successors, really embarrassing old people in a pan-European organization, pan-European movement. All the best, have a nice day, bye.